Hi, community. It's Moni. I'm your host here at the Millspouse Creative Community, and you are tuning in for another Millspouse Influencer Crushing interview. And today we have Brittany Boccher. She is the Air Force spouse. She has two amazing children. She's the Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year for 2017, right? Got that right. And she's also the founder of Down Syndrome Advance and Coalition. Advancement Coalition. And she is the owner of Mason Chicks. So we're excited to have you, Brittany. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the community.
Thank you for the invitation. I really am excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump right in. Tell me a little bit about where you're at right now, and what you're doing, how long you've been a military spouse, and just a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So I have been a military spouse almost 12 years. And crazy enough, my military spouse journey started in an airport, which is where I met my husband. And 6 months later, we were married. And
wow.
Our first date, I actually flew from Texas to Mississippi to go on a date with him because we met in an airport. We didn't live in the same state. So that is where the journey started, and it has been a pretty crazy ride since then. Right now, we are getting ready for another PCS, which will be our 5th together. And we're looking at headed to the DC metro area. So we're really excited about that. Yes, so excited. And really, I spend most of my time advocating in our military spouse community, not only for our military spouses, but for our veterans, children, especially those with special needs. So I spend a lot of time doing that, volunteering outside of the gates of our installation. That's huge, and really embracing the community around. I really try to spend time doing that. And then I operate my own business. So that really takes up a lot of the time.
A lot of time.
It does. Operating the business takes a lot. I thought being my own business owner and working for myself was going to be phenomenal. And then I realized I think I work even more now than when I worked for somebody.
Right. So what were you doing before you became a military spouse?
So before military spouse life, I went to school. I have an undergraduate degree in community health. I've always known I wanted to work in the philanthropy realm, and I wanted to work in nonprofit. So I got a degree in community health. I got a master's degree in nonprofit management, and I worked for a federally qualified health center, doing all of their fundraising, advancement, direct development, and grant writing. And so I had did that prior to meeting my husband. That's all I had ever done.
Right. And so how was that transition for you? Did you quit a job to be with your spouse? How was that?
So the funny thing is, and we tease about it as a family, when I met my husband, I was definitely the quote breadwinner of the family. So I had a thriving career, really was going places in the nonprofit world. And the company I worked for, they were really grooming me as well as a couple of other younger members of the organization for leadership and management, because they were 5 years out from retirement. So they were really grooming us to take over roles of chief executive and COO and CFO positions. And so I kind of thought that was my path. And I had hit the jackpot on finding this organization that took a chance on me right out of college. And they were really investing in me. And then I meet my husband. One day in the airport changed everything. And he was based in this super tiny town in Columbus, Mississippi, middle of nowhere. The nearest Target was in another state.
Oh my God.
And he was like, yeah, you'll be able to find a job here. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. And so I left my career. I get married. I moved to Columbus, Mississippi, and the job market was basically non-existent.
Right.
Especially for what I was, trained and educated to do. And so I ended up taking a position as the director of a preschool. And I did have, experience in education. So I was experienced to do it, and I had the administrative background. But it definitely was not on my radar of something to do. And it was definitely what our spouses today battle with underemployment. I mean, it was
right. So you
that
just
was the
took
case.
something.
Yes. But, I did the best that I could. I had a job. It enabled me to meet people. And it really, ultimately looking back, it gave me the opportunity to hire military spouses at that school to teach. And I think while I was
Gave you the
there,
power.
yes, I hired, I think, 6 or 7 military spouses to teach at our school. And so it was a really great opportunity. And those ladies I am still friends with today. And that was 12 years ago. So
That's another filter.
yes.
Mil spouse BFFs or mil spouse friends.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you. I love that. Wow. That's amazing. I love that story. The way you took like a negative from moving in one place and just was like, listen, well, I got to make the best of it, right?
It was, the funny thing is during that first assignment as a married couple, I met my very best friend now, today, who is also the godmother of my kids. And this past weekend, we actually had a reunion back in Columbus, Mississippi. So middle of nowhere, we chose to go back there. And we were so used to being there as like a group of 4, like 2 couples. And now we're a group of 8 because there's 4 kids between us. So it was definitely a unique experience going back, and we went to the base and we were like, everything seems so much smaller than it was, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, but it's so amazing how it all comes around and how the community really is a small community. And, we say, see you later at one point, and then, it's funny. I'll just run into somebody, I'm in the commissary shopping and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, how is this possible? We have such a small community.
Yes. And I love that because everybody is still reachable. Like you're still touchable in some way, right?
Absolutely.
So I love making those connections, and I love that surprise at the commissary or the bus stop or like, whoa, at the ball. Like, wait, why are you here? That's always the best part. So I want to jump into your business and your nonprofit. Tell me a little bit about what drove you to start, because I know Mason Chicks is a little newer. What drove you to start the nonprofit? What was that like for you?
So I can back up just a little. In 2010, that's actually when I became an entrepreneur. And the reason for that is my husband was deploying a lot more often at the time. And the job he was taking was requiring him to travel when he was home. Like a year he was home, he was traveling about 260 days out of the year. And so I realized, it's hard to keep this job if I want to go home while he's deployed. And a lot of the organizations that I was seeking executive level positions in nonprofits, and they really did not want to invest in me knowing I was only going to be there 2 years.
Right.
And so in 2010, I decided, you know what, I think I can make this work for myself. I can make an income, do something I enjoy, be flexible if I want to travel with my husband while he's TDY, or if I want to go home while he's deployed. And at the time we didn't have children. So there was nothing like tying me to stay at that duty station. It wasn't like my kids were in school or, anything like that. So I just decided to become an entrepreneur. I started a children's boutique in Colorado. It went way better than I ever thought that it would do. And then of course we got orders and we were going to California, and I did not think that the market that I had was going to be conducive in California. So I sold the business and moved to California. And something that I have enjoyed doing my whole life is photography. And I met a fellow military spouse one day who just really got me excited about photography. And she said, come along with me. I have my business. I do photography. I'll teach you everything I know. And so I started going along with her on shoots and invested in the camera equipment, and she started teaching me. And by the time I got to California, I was ready to go on my own, and I started photography full time. And in that process, because she helped me and did so much for me, I started helping other spouses. And so I helped a spouse start graphic design company, start a photography company, start a design of like invitations and things like that. Just really paying it forward, giving them the information, helping them figure out how to do it legally, the way they need to do it, and help them go. So I stuck with photography, loved it, didn't think I was going to do anything else. And we got orders to Little Rock, where we are now. And I had planned to continue photography in Little Rock. And then my son was born, and he surprised us with Down syndrome and a whole bunch of other diagnoses. And I realized I couldn't at the time be away an hour and a half for a family session or 8 hours for a wedding. It just was not possible. And I truly needed a job that I could do 100% from home. It had to be home based. And so that's where Mason Chick Apparel came into place. I basically took the love of photography and kind of designing out photo sessions. And with my friend that I talked about earlier, meeting in Columbus, she has a graphic design background, and we put our heads together and said, let's start an apparel company. And this is how we're going to help fund my son's specialty care that wasn't going to be covered by our traditional insurance. And so we founded the company. It's 2 years young. It's grown more than we've thought it would grow. And ultimately, the company is what funds the nonprofit. So they go hand in hand. But the nonprofit was founded, it's Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition, with the sole purpose to join together nonprofits that are working for the Down syndrome community, and to help them all come together, be on the same page, not overstep what someone is doing, and build partnerships in our community so that children and people with Down syndrome have more inclusive opportunities, and just opportunities for growth and achievement. So that's how we found it. So we have the For Business Apparel Company, which funds our nonprofit.
I love it.
Work.
I love it. And we were just talking earlier before we started recording that there's so much, I just got chills, because there's so much in doing something with a purpose, right? So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, well, why would you do that for free? And I'm like, but don't you understand how many people I can touch by doing this? It's not always about the coins, and it's always, always about the purpose for me. So I was like, because the military spouse community is my community. Like, that is the purpose that God gave me. My passion is public relations and connecting with people, because I feel like I do that well. Putting them together is like, what is it? Like, no brain science. Like, just put it together, and it's going to be successful when you align the two.
Absolutely.
And you're walking in your gift purposefully. Things happen that you can't even imagine. I love it. It's
all about kindness, being kind. My company, Mason Chicks, we only work with military spouses and veterans. So we have a military spouse who helps design some of our stuff. We consign our items at boutiques that are owned by military spouses. We also showcase products in our own brick and mortar of veterans, like a disabled veteran, and just military spouses in general. So their products, so we're helping them get off the ground. And then even our models that model for us, for our business, they're all military spouses. So we're really keeping it in the community. We're trying to give other military spouses the opportunity. We're helping them learn along the way with their own business. And it feels right. And we don't, we don't charge any of the ones that we help promote their product. We don't charge them anything. We're doing it out of kindness. And
right. Like a partnership. You're creating partnerships that inevitably can turn into profit. You know what I mean? So yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So we're not focused on the gain right now. We're looking at the end game, not the gain, but the end game is what we're looking at. So, you know, and we're helping our military community, and that's
exactly
ultimately the most important thing for us, because we see the challenges, we've lived the challenges, and now we are in a position to help other people that are
amazing
in this challenge. Yes.
You're wearing so many different hats. How do you manage all that? Like in the day-to-day with the house, deployments, TDYs, kids, appointments, like a lot of us block schedule. Do you hire out help? Like, do you have certain days you clean? Do you know, like, how do you make it all work? Like, how does the house run?
No sleep. No sleep. Seriously, limited sleep. No, I live by a paper planner. I still have a paper planner. I just cannot cross over to like using my iPhone. I can't. I don't know why, but I need the paper planner. So I still use it. And my paper planner has like the days. So it starts at like 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And then
your time, you're like by time.
I plan out everything in times. Like, I mean, I'm like, this is where I'm going to be. And I just checklist it all day long.
Wow.
And so I'm OCD like that. But
see, I'm more like block. But block. Yeah, I would be so stressed out doing it. That would be like, I got to stop this. I got to do that.
It's hard, but I really try to, I mean, and somewhat of it is still like a block scheduling, because I do try to say, you know, these days of the week, it's just business. We're doing just business. And then these days of the week, it's, you know, my kids aren't in school because they're in preschool. And so 3 days a week, they're home. So on the 2 days that they're out of the home, that's when I do business. And, you know, and it is like going 90 to nothing, getting business done on those 2 days. And then the days that they're home, when they nap, I try to get business stuff done. But I really, you know, I am ultimately, and before anything, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I am, my kids are my priority. My son has significant amount of therapies and needs. And so working with him and I try to like multitask. So I'm like doing therapy while I'm feeding them lunch and I'm working on my checklist, and I might be listening to a podcast all at the same time.
We were just talking about podcasts earlier when I did an interview with Abby Ray from Legacy Magazine. And she was saying that because we were talking about how you do it. Some people were like, I don't do any housework during my office hours. And she was like, I do, but I'll put on a podcast to help me go through. So still, you're kind of still investing in yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. It's so true. Like right now, I'm in my office. I've got dishes going. I've got clothes going. Thankfully, I would not be able to do it if it wasn't for my tribe. Like I have an amazing tribe, and it's just like a fate thing. The cul-de-sac we moved to, I have 2 military spouses in my cul-de-sac. They're phenomenal. They help me when my husband's gone, and at midnight I have a kid that needs to go to the emergency room. They're like, one of them's coming to my house to watch my other kid for me. So, I mean, without them, I wouldn't get to do anything. And one of them is here right now entertaining my 2 littles.
It's amazing.
So it's awesome. And I just wouldn't be able to do it without my tribe. Like I have to have them.
That's amazing. Life. I love it. So what do you find one of the hardest things to do in running your small business and your nonprofit and being a military spouse? What are some of the hardest challenges you've had?
Challenges are moving it. And so that's something, we're in the thick of it right now. We're getting orders to PCS, and because the Down Syndrome Coalition is right now just in Arkansas. And so we have a board of directors in place. So I'm trying to get that stable to where I can conference in for what the coalition is doing. And then on the business side, the business is operated out of Texas and Arkansas, because my business partners in Texas. So I'm moving half of the company across country.
Right. To the other. Yeah.
And it's challenging because I'm having to really figure out legal aspects, because we have e-commerce, like what states, you have the tax issue of selling a product,
right.
and just the logistics of our wholesalers and the printing material, the equipment,
Wow.
thinking about moving all of that. And, is it going to change production costs? So there's a lot that goes into it. So that is extremely stressful. And I think that's with any military spouse that owns their own business, even though you own it and you're at home with it. Sometimes it might not be as mobile as you want it.
Right. Or as you think.
Yeah, as you think. So, I mean, we're going to make this work.
You are.
We're going to pull our hair out doing it, but we're going to make it work. But it's definitely the biggest challenge right now is the moving. And not only that, but the moving is going to take me away from work for a good 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, you're talking getting that house packed, traveling there, getting the house unpacked, getting the kids settled and everything they need, and just getting your bearings, and then getting the business, set up. So, you've got to think about that production time of not being able to work, and how are you going to, fulfill obligations, with your contracts and things like that. So
yeah. That can
definitely
be a lot.
something that's a challenge,
So the moving's a challenge. I'm sure you have things in place. I mean, you have a team that's going to help you with all of that. So that's really good. And just like you said, having a tribe and people around you who kind of get it. And you're a military spouse entrepreneur. So clients and customers are going to understand that. I mean, it's not like you're like, I'm moving. You're saying you're moving because you don't feel like working, right? Like you're really moving.
I'm moving my whole life.
Like
everything.
Like
not down the street.
No, right? It's crazy. And it's amazing that we can do that. Like,
it's exciting though too. Like, I mean, I'm looking at it at a perspective, like I have such good support and ties in the Arkansas community and the Texas community and surrounding states. That going to a new area is going to give me an opportunity to work with a whole bunch of new people that I would have never probably had that opportunity with initially. So
exactly. So how do you guys, what are your boundaries as far as like communication and date night, and how do you guys make all that still work?
Oh my gosh. So that is one area that I need serious tips in. I cannot give tips to that. Like, I need them. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I can say that my husband and I have probably been on less than 10 dates since the 4-year-old was born. And so honestly, instead of focusing, and as important as it is, instead of focusing on the getting away and the date nights, my husband and I have really become accustomed to just spending like an hour together in the evening after both kids are passed out of sleep. Whether we're getting stuff ready for the next day, it's just, can we be in the same room with each other, talk while we're getting things ready for the next day, and communicate. And, we are working though to really get those date nights in, because it's so important.
So important
for the marriage. And, just like anybody else, I'm not going to try to sit and say, oh, we've had this like amazing, wonderful fireworks marriage. No, absolutely not. Like, I mean, we have experienced the trenches and the highs, and how to get out of those trenches and not get back in the trenches. I mean, we have been through the gamut. And I mean, being a parent of a special needs child, it makes it even more challenging, because we're really navigating a world that we had no knowledge of, and just the challenges and the stressors, of that is really hard. So we know that we have to take more time for each other, and we're working on that, and trying to at least once a month.
At least once a month. I was talking to a couple of the actual other influencer interviews that I've had we, what they do is, even Abby and I were talking, we shut our phones off at a certain time. You know, when you run your own business, you want to be, you're waiting for that email or that interview question or whatever it is. So we talked about that. She was like, we cut our phones off at a certain time and we unplug on the weekends. Another girlfriend, I call her girlfriend because now I feel like she's a girlfriend. So Holly Ferris was saying that that they actually hadn't even been on a date for like ever. And that day they were going on a lunch date. So they were just like, instead of going on dates at night, they're doing it during the day when it works. I know for my spouse and I, sometimes breakfast dates worked better because that's the only time I had childcare for my son was in the morning.
Yep.
We would go
you have to make it work. Because for the military family, typically we don't have grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins. You know, when you talk to your civilian counterparts and you see them like every weekend going out and grandma and grandpa have the kids or aunt and uncle took the kids, and you're like, I don't have that. Like, and I don't have a budget to pay for a nanny every weekend or babysitter, you know?
I mean, $10, $12, $15 an hour, I almost lost it.
I know.
So
I'm like, you know, my kid's going to be asleep half the time you're here, right?
And you're going to be on your phone and eating my food and watching my cable. So why am I not paying you? Why are you not paying me to be here?
Yeah, it's so funny. But really though, you know, being all serious, it's super important to keep that. And, you know, I'm having to learn a balance of entrepreneurship, owning a business, and how to still be, you know, the mom I need to be, the wife I need to be, and play those roles. Because sometimes, you know, we get something into production and it's like the phone's going off back to, you know, just back to back the texts and the calls, and because there's a fire lit and we have to get that fire out.
Right. The PR needs to be handled now.
Yes. But I will say, brilliant woman, absolutely love her, Corey Weathers, turning the phone off at 5:00 on Friday. I'm trying it. I'm trying it. Like, I got it from her. And
I saw her post a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
But that's not working for me right now because my husband's deployed. So on Fridays at 5:00, I'm like turning my phone on because my kids are actually old enough. They don't need me. They're like playing with their friends. They're chilling. And I'm like here by myself, like, what am I supposed to do?
Yes. Hey, but that's it. We're all in different seasons. Every one of us is in a different season.
When my husband's home, though, he is like because I just started my business almost 2 years ago too. And he's like, why are you still on your phone? I'm like, I have this press release. I need to get it out to my client or whatever. And he was just like, it was a big transition for my family.
Don't you find it hard for your spouse, the active duty spouse, to understand the operations of owning a business and running a business, and that it's not a traditional 9 to 5, like, or 7:30 to 4:30?
Right. And they can clock out. Like, when they leave unless they're on call that weekend for something and it's been scheduled ahead of time. It's not like they leave, that's it. We are like, for me, I turn my business on in the morning for an hour. I turn it off to deal with my kids. Then I turn it back on. Then I turn it off for lunchtime. Then, so it's back and forth. It's not like a consistent 4 or 6 hours.
Uh-huh.
And so, that was a really big thing in my house. Like, we would get super transparent here in arguments, heated discussions about why I was still on my phone at 7:00 at night. And I'm like, well, let's see. I ran your daughter to therapy. We had taekwondo. I had to do lunch, laundry, clean the house, do dinner. And so now I'm actually able to spend some time in my business.
Yep.
So it's so much. And my daughter actually was diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety. She has sensory issues. So, but that actually wasn't until she's 9. We just had that diagnosis like at 5, 6 years old. And so we knew something was wrong. And I always knew something was wrong. She wouldn't make eye contact. And finally my husband's like, let's kind of get her checked out. So, not to take away from your story, but I understand the therapy, the making sure they're not eating certain foods, making sure they're doing their exercises at home. And like, my daughter has these crazy massive meltdowns that I cannot, like, I don't understand them. But I had to go to therapy too to learn how to deal with them. So it's a lot, and it takes a lot on your marriage. So
it takes a lot on the marriage, and you cross from mom to caregiver, which is like super hard because, you know, as a mom, you give anyways. Like moms give everything to their kids. But then when you add caregiver on top of that, you do not take care of yourself. You are the last person that you're taking care of. And I get asked all the time, they're like, how are you doing all this? Like, why are you doing all of this? And I'm like, look, like, I'm doing the nonprofit so that my son has better opportunities. Like, that is the end game. He needs better opportunities. What better option than for me to make sure he has those opportunities? You know, I'm running the business so that we can do these experimental trials that our insurance doesn't cover, but there's been wonderful success in them. And a one-income military family can't afford that, you know? So it's like I will work 23 hours of the day and sleep 1 if I'm going to give him a better future, if I'm going to see a better result for him, you know? And so that's why at the end of the day, I do it. It's just, you know, your kids are your driving force when you have kids.
It is. I mean, it truly is. And I really do think, like you said, just having a balance, maybe making that one date night a month. When he's home, we have a date night once a week. It's every Thursday night, or if we have something special on the weekends. But it wasn't until we moved here to Maryland that we really got serious about that, because marriages go through up and downs, and he was deployed a year before we moved here. So it was like, we have to make changes and shifts in our relationship to make it work with my business and you coming home and, you know, all of that. So yeah, I love that you shared that with us, because I think a lot of times people get the perception that things are all 100% great.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you know, people get a perception. You know, we do share some struggles. I've seen your struggles on social media, but we really don't see them. We see a photo in a moment. We see that pause. We don't see the tears before, what goes around it and after, right? We don't see all the conversations and the moments of weakness and, you know, overwhelming they
exist. They are there. I'm telling you, I have my moments of yelling, of anger, of crying, of, you know, just with the circumstance. And for me, it's that I have a child with special needs and the things that we go through. Now, that's a relative situation. Somebody else, they're going through the same emotions and the same, you know, they're acting out these same things, but it might not be because they have a child with special needs. It's something else. So I always tell people, I'm like, look, I am no different than you. It's just my scenario, my situation is different. But at the end of the day, like, we all have our challenges. Every single one of us has our challenges.
Exactly.
And so I'm no different. I mean, yes, the tears happen here, but I know that I have to get up and do. I mean, I know I have to get up and do it again, you know, tomorrow. So it's just, they happen, and I try to put on like the good face. And, you know, sometimes I don't. Sometimes you're going to see me rocking my minivan, getting out of the minivan in pajamas, going to Kroger's. Like, it's going to happen.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my gosh. It's funny. I was talking to Holly. She said, Annette Maldonado. She said, sometimes you have to get your pajamas on and go to the coffee shop to work.
Hey, so this is funny. This has been sitting at my desk because I was always the one who's like, I am not going to have a minivan. I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, those were not things. And then they became things. Like, and I love them now. But look at this. I used to be cool. Never say never.
I love it. I too, I said I didn't want a minivan. Now I'm like, can we take the minivan?
I'm like, have those 2 doors open and slide back. TV's on, you know. It's like a hotel on wheels.
It's like a spaceship. But I will say this. When my kids are acting up, it's not close enough for me to hit them. I hit my kids sometimes. So now I like throw stuff back there.
Well, on ours, we have a button where the headrest pops.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. What car is that one?
It's the Sedona.
Okay. I have a Honda Odyssey, and so I feel like there's far. So when they're doing stuff and I will grab a pen and be like,
I mean, I know technically it's made to just fold down the headrest, but it works in an instant that you need to make a point.
I love it. It's like I have eyes and action everywhere. Like things will happen to you.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So tell me 3 things or 3 tips that you would give to a military spouse who wants to start a business or a nonprofit. Or you can give me 6 tips and 3 of each. So if you feel like there's
No. So really, ultimately, if you're going to start a business, find your passion, what you really want to do. Find your why you're doing it, because you're going to be way more successful if you're doing something you just truly love and you're passionate about.
Exactly.
So do that. Don't just do something to do it.
Right.
Ultimately. And then 2, research your market. Research, put the work in, know what's in your area, know who you're going up against. You're always going to have competition when you're in a business, so know that. And find a way to make yourself unique and stand out from that. You know, don't feel like you have to do what somebody else is doing because they look successful.
Right. And so, and really, I think a lot of times we make it look like that's yes. What social media does anyway.
And then invest in yourself and in your company. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, invest to have that attorney, the legal fees.
Oh, girl, I'm properly that right now.
Do it properly, and so that you don't have a surprise down the road, an audit or anything like that come up. Just do it from the beginning. Invest in yourself, and if you do not have the resources to do that, then maybe that's your sign to say, I need to wait another 6 months. Let me get my finances in order to really start this business, because doing it with the best foot forward, you know, it's going to make you way more successful than saying, yeah, but if I get in right now, it seems like I could do this. It's really hot right now. It's super popular. I don't want to wait and miss the curve. You might have bigger problems on your hand.
Yeah.
So, you know, just really invest in yourself. So those are my 3 things.
I love those tips. So we're going to get into one of my favorite rounds, which is kind of called the lightning round. So what is a talent that nobody knows about you that you're going to share with us?
It's not really a talent. It's just something that I love, and I just do it behind closed doors. Like, I love to dance. Me and my daughter have like dance offs in the house. Like, the music comes on and we're just crazy dancing all over. I mean, on the ottoman, the couch. I mean,
I love it. Behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors. And hopefully my neighbors don't see through my blinds.
How fun is that? I love that. What is a superpower you wish you had if you could have one?
Okay, so this is going to sound so cheesy, but it's so real. If I could do anything, it would bring peace. And I don't mean that in like world peace, but I mean like bring peace in general. Like, so if someone's agitated or worked up or anything, just to bring peace and calm.
Like the power of peace.
Yeah, the power of peace, of just
I
peace
love it.
with you, the force, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then you think like worldwide, it would ultimately.
You just like be giving peace to everybody.
Bring peace to everybody.
And then we would have like a chill world.
Yes. Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would. It really would. One of my last questions is, what is one of your favorite downtime activities?
I don't don't have a lot of downtime, but when I do, it's taking a bath. That is my downtime activity.
Yes. I love high five.
Yes.
That is bath, girl. Yes. With like a wine or,
Yes,
or
if
a
I could
tea,
just get
depending on
away
the night.
with no kids' hands under the door, nobody bothering me, just quiet and just sit in a bath, preferably one that has jacuzzi bubbles.
Yeah.
That would be even better. But yeah, that's my like downtime. If I just really need to recharge, that's where you will find me.
I love it. You're an extrovert or introvert extrovert? Because I get that from you. I feel like you're an extrovert, but you're.
I am 100% an extrovert, but I need my like alone time. Like I need my introvert time.
So you're like a closet introvert.
Yes, really. Because sometimes if I'm around like too many people for too long, I just feel like I need to like recluse and just like go and be by myself. Like,
That's how I felt when we were at the town hall when I was there the 2 days. Mm-hmm. On the way home, I think my drive is an hour and a half. I like had no music. And then when I got home, I was like, don't talk to me. It was a lot for me because it's a lot of networking and it's a lot of connecting.
It is, because you're on.
Woo, girl, you're just like, ah.
It's neat.
It's a lot. It's
mm-hmm.
a lot. My next question is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
So that's going to be actually my child she thinks she can scrape her nails on like anything. Anything. And it's like, I just can't handle it. Like that, if you want me to just, most people don't see me fly off the handle, but if you want to see it happen, that is probably the thing that'll get me
really going.
Oh yeah, gosh. And she does it on anything, like concrete, the walls. Like,
wow,
odd. I'm like, that doesn't hurt your hands?
That would hurt my nails.
Why are you doing it? You know, so that is like my biggest. I'm like, just stop doing that.
Please, I'll give you a candy or whatever you want.
I know. I'm like, you want a popsicle? You can have a popsicle.
My kids asked me for a popsicle the other day. I think it was like 9 a.m. They had been up since 6:30 or 7, and they ate breakfast and they were like, can we have a snack? I was like, right, it's 9:30. And so they wanted a popsicle. I was like, you know what? Just have it and that's it for the day. Like if that's when you want to have it, that's fine. I'm not going to argue anymore. I'm not going to argue anymore. But that's your one popsicle for the entire day because we don't eat that all day.
Yep.
And so they ate it. And then later after dinner, they asked me for one. And I was like, what did I tell you like 20 hours ago? Yeah. Well, awesome. I want to know where we can find you. I want to know what you have going on, both with the nonprofit and with for-profit. Tell us where we can connect with you for both and connect with you in general if anybody had questions or wanted to start a nonprofit and reach out to you. And tell us any specials or things that you have coming out in the next few months.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want to follow the MSoy journey, they can follow me online at Facebook, Air Force Soy 17. So that's the handle for Facebook. And then for the nonprofit, that is www.ardsac.org. So Arkansas Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition. We have a lot of exciting things happening. We are partnered with another group, and we are building a Gigi's Playhouse in Little Rock, which is a center for people with Down syndrome. Super exciting. We have a Down syndrome walk that's coming up that we're partnering with. It's the Gigi's Walk that's going to be in Little Rock. So we have a lot of exciting things coming up, and if your heart is in giving to the Down syndrome community, contact me. We have plenty of ways that you can give and help us. And then our business, Mason Chick. So it's www.masonchick.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, the same handle. And we have a lot of exciting things coming up. So obviously we have a move coming up. We just put about 14 new designs into production. We're waiting for those to get in my hands. I'm super excited about. The website should be that I just gave you, it's actually going to launch about next week. It's a new site for us. And our big news is that we have a military spouse line of shirts that will be should launch August 1st if everything goes well. We're going to have a sneak peek of that shirt using one of your amazing filters on it. We can't wait. We will be putting that out on our social media, Instagram and Facebook, probably early next week, to give everybody a sneak peek of some of our designs. And we just can't wait. One of the things about the business, 50% of it funds directly the Down syndrome treatment and research options that are out there. And then 10% we give back to military organizations. The first one that we are going to partner with is the Military Spouse Advocacy Network. We're super excited. Can't wait to give money to them. And so we're just super excited about everything we have going on, the people we're helping, improvements we're making in the community. And if anyone ever wants to get involved, feel free to reach out to me. I'm all over social media.
And you are very available, because when I reached out to you, you responded. You weren't like, I'm Air Force, Armed Forces Spouse of the Year. I don't have time to chat.
Mommy, when is it time to go inside?
In 5 minutes.
This is true work from home entrepreneur mom.
Why did he just check his watch like he knew what he's like 5 minutes?
That's good, Mom. Teach him time.
So I'm really excited for you, Brittany. Thank you so much for joining me. I know that you wear multiple hats and your plate runneth over with all this good stuff, but I wanted to really reach out to you and have you just join our community and share everything you're doing, share your journey with us. And, hopefully there's a spouse in here that something you said triggered or inspired or motivated them, or just something resonated, which is the reason why I do this. I'm sure. I know it did, because some of the stuff you said, I was writing it down. So
thank you so much for having me on. The best part of my day today. And now I get to conquer the grocery store.
You know what? How funny. Grocery.
There's your list. Yay!
This is my I must get done today list, which also included my husband didn't get something from Amazon, and he's in Afghanistan right now. So I had to add that to my list.
I understand.
So, but yes, thank you so much for popping in. And community, we are just so excited you got to tune in with us and listen to Brittany's story and her impeccable journey and all the amazing things she's doing for the nonprofit world and her new line, Mason Chicks. So make sure you go and follow her on all her Instagram, all her Facebook, all her websites. Go visit them, show your support. The best thing we could do for each other is just to show up. And how can we show up? By liking and sharing what she's doing within our community. And make sure to reach out to her. Always send words of encouragement or any of your questions. And you guys make sure to tune in next time for another MilSpouse Influencer Crushing interview. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Brittany.